fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome, welcome one and all to another Aussie Wednesday evening on the iRacing Esports Network. We're SimSpeed TV. This is the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia, the premier GT racing series in this particular part of the world. At Road Atlanta for round 3 for the first endurance round of the season, a 90-minute race coming up tonight. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box for this round is Ryan Jones, making the rounds on SimSpeed recently as a new addition to the crew. Ryan, this is going to be a fantastic round of Sprint Series Australia simply because we're at one of the most demanding circuits that America has to offer.
Yeah, Road Atlanta is an absolutely beautiful circuit. I'd just driven it quite recently myself, and it's already become one of my favorite tracks in the service. It's just got that fast flowing track, and it's about 4 kilometers long, but the lap times come thick and fast here, and we've got a huge 50 odd car field tonight as well, so that is going to provide plenty of action as well.
Yeah, absolutely. These are the details. We do have a fuel tank restriction for this one. So as opposed to our usual 45-minute format, we're going with the 90-minute format, 60% fuel tank restriction. That's going to result in 2 compulsory pit stops for everyone throughout the course of this race. And you see how long Road Atlanta is in this stats page we have. And the laps seem to, as you say, Ryan, they fly by in this place simply because it's such a high average speed.
Yeah, and that's what makes it such a brilliant track. Like some tracks are 4 kilometers long, but you've got a combination of tight hairpins and a bunch of 90-degree corners. But for Road Atlanta, it's got those 2 90-degree corners, turns 6 and 7 around the back of the track, but then the rest of it's all high speed corners with the exception of the turn 10 complex, and a few of them you can take flat out as well. Add into that the undulation and the elevation change as well, and some blind corners and crests. It certainly one of the most exciting tracks on the calendar.
Yeah, absolutely, and one of the most dangerous as well, because a brilliant track though Road Atlanta is, its safety standards are not quite FIA grade 1, let's just say. That's a view of the over the top of the hill and the kind of mistakes that you might see drivers making tonight. That undulation that Ryan mentions coming into play, and we also have to consider just how narrow there is between the walls, especially down these straights. Not much room if you make a mistake, and they're concrete as well.
Yeah, they certainly are a very dangerous track, as you mentioned, and mistakes will be punished, and you'll see that tonight, undoubtedly. There's a few overtaking spots on this track. I think probably the obvious one's going to be down here. You can see Alexander Bird is now into the turn 10 complex. That's the end of the back straight. We get hard onto the brakes there. Probably your best overtaking opportunity, and if you're lucky, maybe down into turn 7 as well. But Not too many overtaking opportunities, but certainly some there to get the job done over a 90-minute race as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the section that Alex is coming up to at the moment, the S's section, is going to be one of those critical pieces of the circuit through the race. You see, if you come upon slow traffic through this section, the track is wide at this point, yes, but there's only really one line. And if you even go slightly off it, then there's a massive pace disadvantage and you stand a chance of facing the wrong way. So it's going to be difficult to navigate that section, especially in the later stages. Well, we are going to go through the start grid. With that, here is a message from our title sponsor, Epiroc.
Epiroc is like a large extended family and everyone looks after each other. This is what inspires me.
Epiroc Australia is looking for passionate people to be part of our global team and to make a real difference for our customers. If you are ready to start a new journey, visit us at epiroc.com.au. Here is the starting grid for round 3 of the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. On pole position, we have Alexander Bird for Trick Sim Sports. Anthony Winkleman joins him, his teammate on the front row. Luis Paulo Gallon and Reese Gasul make up row 2. Well, how can Gallon do on the Ford? Interesting to see. Jackson Suzlin, Harlow, and Zach Hanlon on row 3. And row 4, Ryan, is taken up by John Peasneck and Ethan Warren.
Rounding out the top 10 for the starting grid, going to be Ross Rizzo and Ryan Jarrett from Eclipse Sim Sports. Behind them, the Electric Sim Sports car, Scott Sazowski, and Brett Cananzi will line up right behind his teammate. Adam Briggs and Trent Thomas on the 7th row of the grid. Darren Lobb and Michael Healy, 15th and 16th for this one.
Coming up behind them, 17th, Joshua Burden for Fusion Sim Racing and the BMW. Martin Silvassi for Trick Sim Sports alongside him. And along with them, we've got Dominic Ferraris and Philip Worley, 20th and 21st. Sam Sutton in 22nd. Neil Pearson and Cody Bircher rounding out 23rd and 24th.
25th going to be Reese Keane and Daniel Misdale alongside him, making it an all DPR Racing row number 13. Mia Ott and Mitchell McLeod, 27th and 28th. Joel Smith, Justin Wallace rounding out the top 30. Cameron Dance and Chris Allen, 31st and 32nd.
Thomas Hens is going to start from 33rd position with Simon Mazzomo alongside him for FT1 Motorsport. Benjamin Brook and Richard Hunter behind them. Darren Huxham and Adam Gardner. 2 other drivers. It'll be interesting to see what they can do from this low reaches of the field as the top 40 is rounded out by Benjamin Johnson and Blake Haswell, but there are still more cars to come.
Another 11 cars to come. Starting those off with Stephen Bartholomew, Damon Stockton, 41st, 42nd. Pat Gallo and Dave Clements behind them. Ahead of John Nicoleff and Brandon Gregory, 45th and 46th. Brett Hender for 47th place and Stuart Coulter from 48th, rounding out the grid. In 49th, 50th place, Troy Duff and Sean Reed, and Adrian Lechetti from 51st.
What a field of cars we've got for round 3 of this championship. I don't think I've seen this many cars around Road Atlanta at any specific time in the time I've been involved in sim racing. This is going to be an immense start, and it's all going to depend on how the field handles those opening 2 turns at the start of the lap, because it's a very flowing and fast section with high curbs, but the line is narrow, so if you're too aggressive on the start, then you might stand a chance of dropping way down the field.
Yeah, you really don't want to get caught side by side up through the, or down and up through the S's section there. That's a really tough piece of racetrack, that, and you can't really get side by side through turn 5 without losing yourself a bunch of time. So as you said, going to really depend how these guys get themselves sorted through the opening affair the first couple of corners as we get down towards turn number 10 now, getting close to the start.
Yes, indeed, and these 2 turns are going to be a bit of an action zone during the race as well. Good overtaking opportunity, but you can easily defend. The safety car is pulling into the pits. That means the field is under the control of Alexander Bird for the start. He is away quite early, right before the final turn, but the field flies in formation for the start here. Gallon getting a little bit crossed up, and my goodness, Reese Gasul, all four wheels off into the grass on the start. But other than that, it seems like everyone's filing into turn one at a reasonable rate. Back through the field, they are clamoring for positions, but for the most part, drivers swapping positions as they come through the S's, mostly single file already, Ryan.
Yeah, they've managed to get themselves sorted out pretty nicely in the early going, recognising it's a 90-minute race, not wanting to get involved and take yourself out of a race early on as we watch Ethan Warren and Scott Zazowski getting chased across the track. They're going to go side by side down the back straight, and that's John Plesnick holding off Ross Rizzo up the inside through turn 7. And now they're all going to go down this back straightaway and watch the draft come into effect for these cars now. It's a pretty long straightaway, this one.
Yeah, oh no, there's a problem though for Martin Silvassi. My goodness, he's been very embattled, very embittered in this series. His teammates up the front though seem to be holding station as a draft train forms behind everyone. And side by side, Trick and Altus. 669, that's Scott Cislovsky, Ethan Warren. These guys were former teammates at All-Star Motorsports. And now, driving in two separate teams battling hard on the first lap of a race at Road Atlanta, and you can see the BMW train up the front. Oh, actually, no. My eyes deceived me. That is the midfield. Goodness me. It's a fantastic field of cars we've got. Battles all through the field. This is the front, Ryan.
It is. We'll get a replay up on screen for Martin Silvassi just shortly. But at the moment, still watching that fact. And here comes the motor simulation replay. You'll see what exactly unfolded for Martin Silvassi. Coming through downhill through the S's section there for Trick Simsport. So what's he done? Up through turn 5, up onto the curb, over the crest. Maybe a little bit of contact. Maybe, you know what, a big hit there from the Porsche. Not sure who that was. That was Sam Sutton, I do believe. And into the wall hard. That's going to be a lot of damage on his car.
Yeah, well, this is the view from on board Sam Sutton as he came down through the S's. Let's check out the view from him. There's Silvassi in front of him, loses it, tank slaps, tiny bit of contact, yes, but Silvassi, I think, was struggling to regain his control of his car already. Either way you look at it, very unfortunate incident. Hopefully Silvassi recovers sufficiently, and that is a position swap between two of the Altus BMWs. Harlow coming down into 6th, Hanlon up into the top 5 as the field starts lap 3 of this one, and Peasnick really starting to monster the back of Ross Rizzo now.
He lost a spot to Rizzo a couple of laps ago. Rizzo went around the outside at turn 10, a fantastic braking maneuver. But there's trouble for Pat Gallo back in the pack. That's no good news for him. He's lost it at turn 10, as we were talking about Ross Rizzo making a good move at turn 10. It's a tricky one, that place. Very tricky to get the overtake done as we watch.
Certainly. Absolutely. We're watching John Peasnick still coming through, trying to regain this position from Ross Rizzo. Very easy to get on early throttle out of that corner, Ryan, but the run down this straight, it's very hard to get absolutely right. You often find yourself losing time on your deltas.
You certainly do. I'll tell you who's losing time on his delta now. Scott Zazowski. He's side by side with Ethan Warren. Warren might clear him by the braking zone. He will in fact clear him, and Zazowski's going to slot in behind him. Good move from Ethan Warren there. Down the straightaway, got the run. That's all you need to do sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think Cislovsky is done. And I'm sure that battle will have further chapters to write, as now we see a potential move into turn 1 here. Peasnick decisively making a move on Ross Rizzo. And knowing Rizzo, he is one of the more conservative drivers in the field. It's netted him a lot of success. He might have just let John go on that one. Maybe he'll get an opportunity to fuel save.
Gonna have to make 2 stops in this race as well, of course. So Sochi's gonna make an appearance in this race without a doubt. Ethan Warren has had a horrible exit coming out of turn number 5. Might come under threat from Scott Zazowski, but not gonna quite be close enough that time around. Brett Cananzi all over the back of Trent Thomas as well for P number 14. This one is, we'll see whether Cananzi can get the run out of the turn 7, but he's got a bit of oversteer, and that is gonna cost him. He's going to lose out time, and this is Daniel Misdale running wide of DPI Racing. And that's Justin Wallace getting alongside him down the back straight away now.
Yes, indeed. Well, they're sorting out their dramas while the Altus BMWs are battling it out there, and that is, I believe, a move. Ferrari on a BMW, Ryan Jarek up into position 13 there. Trent Thomas, actually, no, my apologies, I must have misspoken there. Oh my goodness. They were side by side for a second, but potential side by side here. Ross Rizzo almost losing another position to Ethan Warren. But man, he is really on a charge as Ethan in these early stages, isn't he?
He is. We saw it in ALSC the other day as well. He was extremely aggressive in the early going, made for a fantastic race. But at the moment, Ross Rizzo just got a little bit of a trainer car starting to form up behind him now. And maybe just struggling a little bit for some pace out there. He's got Ethan Warren, Scott Sazowski, Adam Briggs not too far off the back of him either. We'll see whether Rizzo can find some more speed on this car and start to get back up onto the rear, of John Piesnik in front of him. But battles all the way down this field as we look back to Cameron Dance leading what we mentioned earlier is a hotly contested battle further down the field, and a huge train of cars. He is leading for 24th.
Yeah, that is enormous, that train that Dance is leading all the way down the straight. The likes of Keane, Hins, Owen, Mazzomo, Wallace, Smith, Huxham, Johnson, Stubber, and Gardner. Speaking of Gardner, he's actually pulled out of the slipstream, about to make a move on Cameron Stubber, potentially, into turn 10A and B. Will Stubber defend? No, he'll let him go and move straight back over. Oh, that may have caught out Richard Hunter there in the Ferrari just behind him. They're going side by side in front of them. Thomas Hins on the outside of the last turn. Oh, he's not going to like that one. Certainly not.
3 wide
now. My goodness, have a look at this. I know this is called Sprint Series Australia, but the race is 90 minutes, for goodness sake, guys. Have a look at this. This is almost touring car level mayhem going on in the midfield right now.
Well, this is what happens. You put a bunch of really fast and experienced drivers back in the pack, and they're going to want to get up the front. None of these names are names to be sneezed at. Guys like Thomas Hins, Justin Wallace, Cameron Dance, Simon Mazzomo, they're all very good drivers in their own respect. Now Wallace getting up on the back of Thomas Hins, but he's not going to be close enough, and they just sort themselves out for now at least. But I don't see that being the end of this battle, because this is an enormous battle of cars right now.
Yeah, absolutely is, and really the train is now headed by Mazzomo. As we take a look at Ethan Warren's charge once again, he is through on Ross Rizzo, so another position further up in the top 10 for Warren. Good campaign coming in for Altus Esports. They are holding some very solid positions at the moment.
Yeah, they are holding, what is that, 3 of the top 8 spots right now for Altus. Good start for those guys so far, as we'll see whether they can get a move on. I'm just seeing Brendan Gregory starting off the start of the track there. He's back in 51st spot, so he's had a bit of an issue there. Not sure what's going on for him. Maybe just trying to get out of the way after coming out of the pit lane. Looks to be getting back up to speed now, so no dramas. Oh, that was a big crash off turn 5. That's Sam Sutton. Dominic Ferraris just knocked through.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know who the other car was, but that's a big crash.
Wow, front end missing there for one of those cars. Modem simulation replay. Let's see what's gone on here from the point of view of Cananzi. Oh, he got straight into the wall and then a head-on collision. That's a consequence of pushing too hard over that section. It's so much tarmac, it's tempting to use it, but there's less grip, and it's super bumpy, as you could see, and Sam Sutton got taken for a ride there.
Sutton's not had the best of luck through that part of the track. He saw him get into the back of, who was it earlier? Memories are escaping me there. It was Silvassi. No damage there from that one, but that time around, a big damage to Sam Sutton, and that could be a race ender for multiple of those cars.
Yeah, absolutely. But crucially, race control has not called a safety car in response. Evidently, the scene of the accident was cleared in sufficient time and everyone was still going. Meanwhile, Brett Cananzi decides to duck into the pits to get his damage repaired. And my goodness, he'll be spending quite a bit of time getting that thing repaired. We haven't checked in on the front in a while, though. These guys are all running line astern. Bird, Winkleman, Gallon, and Gusul, the top 4 3 BMWs and a Ford GT, and I'm quite interested to see this because usually these drivers, Gallon in particular, are putting moves in on almost every corner and being super aggressive. This is a very measured drive from Gallon that I'm seeing.
Yeah, we saw last round out, they were very aggressive all race long, put on a great show for us, and just being a bit more mellow this time around as we see Adam Briggs making a move on Scott Sazowski. He looks for the cutback and will get the cutback coming off turn 10 side by side through turn 11 and 12, a flat out section on these GT machinery, and Sazowski will hold on to Adam Briggs for now.
Nice. I love battles like that, and that's what I really enjoy about that last section of the track, the fact that you can change your line and you can take advantage of what the other car has to do to get past you. It's fantastic.
You can, and that's where racecraft comes into it. You gotta know your stuff with these cars, with any car on this service. As Mitchell McLeod dives into the pit lane for Torque Inc. His car displays it. He might have just retired that car. Tech issues for Mitchell McLeod, not what he would have wanted from tonight. But Zachary Hamlin is all up. Oh, sorry. He has lost a spot. That's what confused me. He's lost a spot to Jackson Susan Harlow now and is back in behind him.
Yeah, so obviously JSH has shown a great amount of pace, or Hanlon's made a mistake, and there's been a position swap for the Altus boys. And actually, going back and taking a look, Hanlon did have a bit of a whoopsie at the exit of the S's. Meanwhile, Ross Rizzo and Adam Briggs. Oh, no, that's Scott Sazlowski and Adam Briggs. My apologies. Briggs succeeds in getting by, and ultimately, that means the Sazlowski has been thrown into the clutches of Ryan Jerrick. Now, I love the fact that this track results in this kind of racing, but can Sazlowski recover?
Sazlowski's a pretty good driver. I'm not sure he's going to keep falling. I'm sure he'll probably recover from this one and rally back up. Certainly got enough time to do it. We're only on lap 10 of this race. 90 minutes of racing. Still got 75 minutes still to come, but these guys racing like it's your standard 45-minute race right now, putting on a fantastic show for us. As for second place, Anthony Winkleman, Luis Paulo Gallen come up on traffic, and that is the Darren Huxham car that is getting out of the way down the back straightaway. See whether he dives out of the way for Luis Paulo Gallen as well, and he probably will. Hopefully he gets out of the way for Reese Gasul in behind. And
yeah, Huxham ended up letting Bird by on the entrance to the turns before the back straight, so it took time for the leaders to clear him, and Bird has managed to eke out a bit more of an advantage now over Winkleman, but Gallon almost got into the rear of Winkleman a couple of times, so he's close. Even closer is Jerrick and Sazlowski, almost side by side through the last turn, but Jerrick has to wait one more corner at least.
He will for now. Some big battles still going on down this field. This is Trent Thomas trying to fend off Darren Lobb for 13th place. Trick Sim Sports versus SBA Racing back there. Not going to be making any moves down through the S's, but coming out of this corner into the next turn 6 corner, there may be a spot. If you get the run, which it doesn't look like he's quite got, you can throw a blanket of these 4 cars. These guys are pretty close as well.
Yeah, Trent and the BMW getting a bit of a better run up the hill. Of course, we do have to remember that these cars have different advantages and disadvantages depending on what part of the circuit they're on. And the BMW's been the car of choice for a lot of these guys. Jerrick and Sazlowski in particular making very good use of it down the back straight. Bit of a drafting battle here, side by side now into the turn 10 complex. Nice wide bit of track. But Sazlowski manages to defend the position there, maintain it. Jerrick, meanwhile, he has to wait for another chance to make a move again, but he is relentless in his pursuit right now. They're almost going to go side by side into turn 1, I think. No, Jerrick thinks better of it, but this is a 3-car battle now. They've had another driver and another trick driver in particular join the party. Trent Thomas now, he smells a position. What a battle.
Anthony Winkleman coming under pressure from Luis Paulo Gallen. Now this battle starting to heat up for P number 2 on this The sideways gets Anthony Winkelman, holds onto it, but this is going to allow Luis Paulo Gallant alongside him, down the back straight away. Reese Gasol will look on. Will he take it 3 wide?
No
he's going to
straight line
think
from the
about
forward.
it. Goes right. Oh, he's going to try it. He's on 2 tyres on the grass. No room there, Gasol. And now he shows those on the inside, but they're still side by side. And around goes Gasol.
Oh, he certainly does, and in a dangerous spot, but he manages to get off the track. He's going to have to do a 3-point turn to get that thing going again. That is an absolute heartbreak for Reese Gasol. As a move is made just beside him, but that is definitely going to be a temporary yellow flag. He does get going. Let's take another look at that from his point of view. My goodness, what an onboard this is, Ryan.
He was desperate to take advantage of that battle. It wasn't quite there for the taking, though. Jumped on the brakes, jumped on a bit too hard, pinched the rears, and once you do that, there's not much you can do. Around he goes. Good job to get off the track ahead of that next car. He'll get that turned around and he'll carry on his way, but he has lost a lot of time.
Yeah, he certainly has. It's a shame. He was well in contention in the top 5. Fortunate that he managed to get out of the way. Let's go back live and see the state of play. Hanlon and Peasnick battling, and Peasnick actually in an Altus sandwich right now. This is the kind of stuff we like to see.
This is a very talented battle, this one. Ethan Warren, John Peasnick, and Zachary Hanlon, who's just put a bit of a gap on these guys coming out of turn number 7, but now look for Ethan Warren to make the move up the inside of John Peasnick, almost making contact. Peasnick tries to drive him over to the inside, can't do it, and in the end, Ethan Warren makes a nice move up the inside, and that's spot taken for the Altus Esports car.
Yeah, Ethan Warren making some great moves to get himself back up through the field, it has to be said. Meanwhile, on board with Peasnick as he has a little bit of a look into turn 1. He's certainly not done. He knows how to win races and championships, does John. Ethan Warren, meanwhile, he's looking to prove himself. He's looking to keep in hot pursuit of those at the front. Meanwhile, Alexander Bird is holding station very nicely out there in the lead. Gallon now in second. That's crucial. It's going to allow Bird once again a little bit of breathing room, and my goodness, things are getting a bit feisty back here as Darren Huxham, unfortunately, the traffic from before, he's now right in the middle of this huge battle pack, and there's not much he can really do in these circumstances. Warren and Hanlon now, they could potentially go side by side up at the front of this pack and potentially change positions now into 10A and 10B. No. Warren hanging back once again. Oh, a little bit of a mistake for John Peasnick, and it just goes to show traffic can really throw you off around here.
Yeah, it really can. Can get a bit flustered sometimes if you catch them in the wrong place. It can lose you time to the car in front of the car behind it, really cost you in a battle such as this one. Luckily for Peasnick, doesn't lose too much as the Altus cars align astern on this track, 4th, 5th and 6th. Fantastic job from them. They've made some steady improvements on their starting spots. They'll be looking to go a few spots higher up, maybe snatch a 1, 2, 3 on the cards, maybe on the podiums to get towards the end of this race. But they'll have some fierce competition to get through to get there. Guys like Winkelman, Luis Paulo Gallant, Alexander Bird can be really tough to pass, and they're already 8.8 seconds off those 3 guys out front. So we'll see what those guys can do. But John Peasnick has recovered from that little mistake you mentioned and is starting to close up once again on the back of Ethan Warren for P6. Not letting him get away for now. A good battle this one.
Oh, an even better battle right there for second place. Gallon properly under threat from Winkelman now. They're actually side by side coming into that final chicane. Winkelman not done here, and Gallon is turning on the defensive driving. Braking a little bit early, side by side through turn 1. Winkelman on the marbles. Not much grip out there on the outside. Gallon holds on for at least one more lap. But unfortunately, there's a bit of traffic here. Adam Gardner right in front of them. He just lets them go as Sislovsky makes his way into the top 10 there. But my goodness, we got 2 battles here going on at separate places on the track. Hard to keep track of that.
I was just going to mention, it's getting hard to keep track of all this action. They're really putting it on for us today. And yeah, that traffic, Adam Gardner did a fantastic job to get out of the way of Luis Paul and Anthony Winkelman as the Altus Esports guys almost go side by side again. Ethan Warren has gone through on Zachary Hamlin, so they did in fact go side by side. And I dare say Hamlin didn't make that too difficult for him as we watch Darren Lobb. DPI Racing up in 13th place on the back of what looks to be a battle for 10th place. He's got Trent Thomas right up in front of him. This is a juicy little battle, this one. And has the run. It does Ryan Jarrett on Scott Sazowski. He's going to look to the right-hand side. Going to look the long way round at the turn 10A, 10B complex. Going to be a brave man to pull this one off around the outside for the left-hander. But Sazowski is going to go deep on the brakes. Stay ahead, but look for the cutback from Ryan Jarrett. But not going to have enough to get alongside him through turn 12, at least maybe through turn 1. Defensive line from Sazowski as we look at Ross Rizzo in the pit lane. And he has held on, has Sazowski for now.
Yeah, Rizzo just ducking in there after having a bit of a whoopsie into the turn 10 chicane. I think he decided it was time to come in, but they're going to have to be single file through the S's here for these last couple of positions in the top 10. Meanwhile, Adam Briggs, he was briefly involved in a battle further up, but I think he's had a couple of dramas. He was actually well within Ross Rizzo's vicinity. This is what happened between them down at the turn 10A and B complex, and there's Rizzo struggling to maintain control of his car, and so now Briggs left on his own, and he's only just found his way past Huxham on the back stretch in live conditions. Oh, Sislovsky, big move. Meanwhile, at turn 10A, and oh my goodness, a little bit of an accordion effect with a bit of contact as well. Ryan Jarrett decides he's had enough of all of that.
Starting to see a few pit stops now as drivers give up on their little battles and come in to make their first of their 2 compulsory pit stops as the Altus cars get some tyres up onto the grass. Coming through turn 3 through the S's, that's Harlow trying to fend off Ethan Warren, who is still making progress in this race, and much with Zachary Hamlin. I don't expect Harlow to make this all too difficult for his Altus teammate here. Into turn 6 they go, no move to be made there. I expect they'll probably have a change position down towards turn 10.
Yeah, I'm amazed at Warren's race pace. He's certainly shown his worth starting in 8th and now making the case for going up into 4th. The slipstream has a huge effect down the back stretch here, and the BMW seems to be the exact car for the job. And that was a fairly easy move there for Warren. He slots in front right before the braking zone.
It is not too difficult as predicted. Altus cars still 4th, 5th and 6th, but now it's Ethan Warren leading that train, and he'll look to get a move on, chase down the 3rd place car of Anthony Winkelman, who is still in behind Gallon. He's lost a bit of time to him now, 6/10s back he is, and they're both 2.6 seconds of Alexander Bird, who's looking pretty comfortable out there, the race winner from rounds 1 and 2, looking to make it 3 in a row to start this season, as that is Michael Healy has also pulled the trigger on his first pit stop of the day, as we see a good train of cars here for 16th on back. This is Neil Pearson, or 15th on back now with the pit stops. Neil Pearson trying to fend off Cody Bircher. These guys going at it for what is P15s. A few cars come out of the pit lane.
Whoa, Misdale.
Oh, that was a little bit close. Daniel Misdale coming out of the pit lane, I do believe, there.
Yeah, certainly. He came out right in the middle of this battle pack, and Misdale was in 44th position last time he crossed the line, so this is a lap traffic situation, I believe, and he's promptly letting these guys go, continuing their battle. And, that is a problem. That is a problem for Mia. That is a problem for another Ferrari. Up at turn 1, up at the pit exit, Damon Stockton also at a standstill. And what on earth has happened to Brett Hender as well? All of a sudden, the start of the lap has turned into a war zone.
It's as if someone's dropped some oil on the track there, or something which sadly isn't possible in iRacing, but yeah, they're all having troubles here. This is what's happened to Mia Ott for the Sim Racing Channel car. Through turn 1, up under the curb, unsettles it. Around they go into the wall. Oh, just a bit of light contact. Should escape that one. Oh, no, Hender! That was a big hit under the inside wall, or the outside wall, my bad.
Yeah,
Who are they
huge.
alongside with? trying to go up the inside, and it just gets rotated, and around he goes.
Big shame there for Brett Hender, and Damon Stockton ended up being the Ferrari that, huge rear end contact there. That looked like a Zero Esports car, was that? No, it was an Eclipse car, possibly. Not quite sure, but either way, that was just a chain of events that altogether seemed unrelated, but ended up having a big effect on quite a few people's races. Another view of Brett Hender having this huge off. I'm not sure where blame can be assigned for that. Looked to me like Stockton moved over to the right slightly on entry.
Yeah, looked that way to me. And then it went from bad to worse for Stockton, rejoining right on the racing line in Canansi. He had nowhere to go, straight into the back of him. Big damage for him as we look on now. Back with live pictures. On board with... Whoa, what was that?
That was technical dramas for Darren
that
Lobb.
is Darren Lobb. He's in the wall.
Yeah, big technical dramas for him. That's very unfortunate, and that's entirely out of his control. Just unfortunately slowing down for some reason on the straight as well, so it resulted in huge contact.
That's really unfortunate. He tried to get that car going again, but it was grabbing the rear end, not aligned with the front, so he's retired the car and going to get a tow to the pit lane, so he's most likely out of this race. The battle for 6th place is still on. John Peasnick has got himself back up onto the rear end of Zachary Hanlon. Down the back straightaway through the turn 9 kink they go. Downhill section into turn 10. Not able to go deep enough on the brakes. Not going to look for the move there. But he's right up in behind him, and he's going to be looking to make a move. Who's that that's gone around? That's Benjamin Johnson. Where's that? That looks like it might be on the back straightaway.
Yeah, it is. It's I think it's where the it is. It's where the short circuit goes around, and I mean he went off there, and then I wonder if he decided to go back onto the circuit the short way. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, don't know what happened there. That's a bit of an unfortunate one for him. Was it turn 5 in the end that one happened? But right now, the battle is on for 6th place. Hanlon won't be giving this position up like he did to the teammates up in front of him. He's going to fight until this one, till the death. John Peasnick's going to have to really work for this one. Try and get the exit out of the turn 7 there. That's the most crucial part of this lap, in my opinion. Getting the exit off turn 7, because if you don't, you're going to lose time all the way down. Is this a... No, this is the 2nd place. Winkleman still trying to get the move done on Louise Paul Gallant. Still not able to get the move done as they make their way through turns 11 and 12. And as I was mentioning, yeah, you don't get a good exit from turn 7, you're going to hurt yourself all the way down the straight. And let me tell you, it is a very long straight, and it will cost you a lot.
Yeah, the straight's worth about half the lap almost in terms of distance, so you need to make sure that you nail those exits. Luis Paulo Gallon in the Ford, a car that is not the best in terms of straight line speed. He doesn't have the luxury of a powerful engine to negate any mistakes, so he needs to nail it every time. And those bumps, I mean, any car has trouble dealing with those, but these GTE machines with their very stiff suspension certainly get a workout. Peasnick is giving Hanlon a workout here. A little bit of a mistake for Hanlon. And Peasnick now is starting to smell blood. Potential top 6 once again for Peasnick. I'll tell you what, the level of competition that we've had in this is absolutely insane. All of these guys fighting very closely for these top positions, and Peasnick almost using the drafters' advantage, but we're getting a replay.
This is Simon Mizomo down into pit lane. What's he done? Is he spun into the pits? Or is he just making who was that in front of him
Someone
that went
else
around?
has spun in the pits.
Someone did spin.
Another FT1 car, Dominic Ferraris. And oh, wow, okay. That's what happened to Dominic. My goodness.
It's a tricky pit entry, this one. A couple of corners involved. You've got to get the car slowed down, and as competitive as these drivers are, they're going to push for every last millisecond they can get. Ferraris pushed a bit too hard there. Surprisingly easy done that one. But he won't be too happy with himself about that one.
Certainly not. There's a little bit more mayhem happening throughout the field. Second and third finding their way through lap traffic, and there is a caution out because there is a car stopped on the run between turns 5 and 6. Daniel Misdale, car 73, is stopped on the side of the circuit.
This is gonna spice things up. Not that they needed spicing up in this race. Misdale, as you mentioned, off to the side there, going to get a Motum simulation replay. What has gone on for driver of the 73? Not going to find out. Oh, here we go. Coming through the main straight for DPR Racing car there in the BMW. Through turn 1 as he clips the curb. He has, but it's not got him sideways. The tail will be unfolded in just a few moments' time. He's in behind the Ferrari there. I can't quite make out which team car that is.
I get the feeling that that this is going to be a case of spinning through the mid-corner or catching a bump the wrong way. Yeah, off into the grass, and then he tried to catch it, and just around he went. And for some reason, he was not able to get the car going again. Maybe he stalled it and couldn't restart it. Not sure.
Bit of an odd one there. Does sound a bit odd, that one, on board. So that's the story of Daniel Misdale. A small mistake is going to... Oh, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not catapult. It's going to... I give up. I give up on that sentence. It's going to shuffle things up. It's going to shuffle things up for the field. It's going to shuffle things up for Daniel Misdale. He's going to drop all the way down the order once more. And big shame for him. Safety car out on track. Yeah. Well, we're going to get an exciting restart here.
We certainly are. So, a lot of drivers taking the opportunity to tour pit road while we are under caution. They will lose less relative time than if they were under green. So it'll be interesting to see what our front runners do as well, the likes of Alexander Bird, because we are now just over a third race time. So if you wanted to split the race equally, then you might as well pit now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not too sure myself. Do you have any info there, Reese, what the pit window might be for this race?
Well, 2 pit stops are required, and it's a 60% fuel tank restriction. And GTE cars, yeah, you can almost do it on 1 stop of the race, but GTE cars, they last around about an hour, just under an hour on a tank. So it'll last you about 45 minutes, a quote-unquote full tank in this race.
Well, they're in, regardless of the fuel numbers. Gallon are going to follow in Anthony Winkleman, Alexander Bird. We'll see whether any changes are made in this pit stop phase. We'll see whether anyone's made a gamble on staying out. I'm looking at my timing screens. It looks like Scott Sazowski may have pulled that gamble.
Yeah,
No,
that's it.
He hasn't.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how this shuffle ends up working out, because Ryan Jerrick is now the leader of this race behind the safety car in terms of track position. And it's going to be crucial for a lot of these guys to make their stops now, particularly the likes of Gallon and Winkleman, because they, right before the safety car came out, were in the middle of a bunch of lapped traffic that was really impeding their progress. So this is going to give them, hopefully, a bit of clear air, but we'll have to wait and see until they catch up to the train.
We will see how many, if any, other drivers, aside from Ryan Jerrick, stayed out. Looks like Harlow, Piesnik back there in P10, P11. They lost a couple of spots, so maybe a couple cars opted to stay out, take the gamble on the fuel game. It does appear that 3 cars have stayed out. It was Ryan Jerrick, Brett Kinanzi, and Cody Bircher, all opting to take this restart from the head, but they've all made their pit stops already. So that would be why, and that may have played into their hands beautifully.
Yes, indeed. They were involved in a lot of that drama in the first few laps of this race. So it's a good opportunity for them to vault up a few more positions, put themselves in a better position for the second half of this race that is forthcoming. Well, you go.
We got 6 lapped cars up here in front of Ryan Jurek. They'll get the wave around, I do believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Before this restart, which will allow the battle to unfold. But it looks like we're going to go green this time by. Safety car lights are out.
No, actually, race control has extended the safety car period for one more lap so that they can do the wave arounds you were mentioning, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll see if that one occurs this time around for the sake of the race. Hopefully it does. Although it could be a little bit interesting if these laps cars do restart in front of these leaders. We'll see the leaders trying to pick their way through while having their own battles, which certainly make things very, very interesting indeed. But lap 26 of this one, it's been quite the race so far.
Yeah, certainly has, and we've got plenty of it to go. 54 minutes and 30 seconds until the checkered flag flies in this round 3 of the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. Your race leader under safety car is Ryan Jurek. Brett Canenzi and Cody Bircher, your top 3. But the likes of Alexander Bird, Luis Paulo Gallon, and Anthony Winkleman will be the leaders of the race on strategy.
Those cars are now being waved around, as we suspected would happen. We'll see whether Jurek and co are able to keep themselves out front and in these podium positions. Certainly earlier on in the race, when they were buried back in the back, they didn't appear to have the outright pace that guys like Bird, Gallon, and Winkleman had. But will be an interesting one, how quickly, if quickly at all, that they can make their way back up to the front, these guys.
Looked like Jurek briefly made a mistake there, almost overtook the safety car. Maybe autopilot briefly took over there, but well, we might as well take another look at that. Our director Jay deeming it necessary. Let's have a look. Ryan Jurek. So yeah, the cars are being waved around. Ryan, I think, sort of automatically assumed that he was one of the cars being waved around, but of course he's the leader, so he has to stay behind the safety car.
Or maybe he didn't even realize he was a race leader. If he didn't know, he certainly knows now, and might be a little bit more nervous about this restart than he might have been anticipating.
Certainly. And that run down to this chicane, what a fantastic view. You'll be able to get a good look at the variety of liveries that we have in this series. As the lights are out on the safety car, it's going to be another big action zone this end of the lap when they come around here one more time. But Ryan Jurek is going to lead them away. The green flag is out, and Ryan Jurek goes exactly on the green flag. No gamesmanship from him. But Brett Cananzi is starting to look for the lead. Meanwhile, Bird and Gallon trying to make their way through. Pat Gallo stuck on the outside. Oh no, there we go. It's going to be a pile-up. Anthony Winkleman and Luis Paulo Gallon are around, and the track is almost blocked.
Oh no, that's a huge crash. It's taken out a lot of our leading contenders in this race. Anthony Winkleman there, you can see. Gallon took the hit. Someone else came barreling through.
They made contact.
We're going to get a replay up screen soon enough. They're still making contact up and down this order. That's Cameron Dance going by Pat Gallo. There's a number of lapped cars still in and throughout this pack. Gallo is way down on speed right now. The battle for third place still on with Cody Bircher and Alexander Bird, and oh my, that's really going to shake up this race.
Yeah, it certainly is. My goodness, what a restart we got. But obviously not worth bringing the safety car out again, as everyone cleared the scene pretty quickly. This is the view. This is what happened. And going side by side with some traffic, Winkleman and Bird side by side. Of course, Gallo had to... Oh, there we go. That's what happened. So it was all because Gallon had to try and choose a lane because of that lapped car on the outside. Otherwise, he would have been stuck.
Would have been. Tried to get down to the inside. No room there. Who was that car that came barreling in to the side? Quite a way past. It was this guy, Reese Gasol for JPR Racing. Sees a gap, tries to get through, and the gap very quickly shut. and that should be, in theory, heavy damage to the front of his car, heavy damage to the side of the other car involved, and amazingly, Gasol has kept on going, may have netcoded through that one in the end.
Well, we'll have to wait and see if that was the case. Reese Gasol may have damage. Oh no, that's definitely going to be some damage for John Peasnick to the rear end. Oh, goodness me, it looked like he made contact with the wall. I'm not quite sure. But my goodness, what a save regardless. Fantastic to see. And I mean, he is out of position. He is trying to make his way further up, but goodness me, you don't want that sort of stuff happening at this point as Alexander Bird makes his way past Brett Cananzi. So Bird chasing down the race lead once again. Side by side, meanwhile, Ethan Warren and Reese Gasol having a battle. Trick Sim Sports coming in here. Take care, guys. What will Ross Rizzo do? Usually he's the more conservative driver. He does back out of it. But what a battle this is, coming into turn one side by side. Careful, guys. What a drive there. What an exit from Warren. He's
Round the outside.
He's really good at putting the traction down up the hills, but Reese Gasol monstering the back of him in the S's, and Ross Rizzo just sitting behind them, waiting for a chance, waiting for a move. What is going to happen down the straight, though? Big draft territory.
This is the battle for P number 6, this one. And yeah, as you mentioned, what a move from Ethan Warren round the outside at turn 1. Fantastic job getting the power down. Can he get the power down well off turn number 7? Looks like he does. Gasil's got Rizzo. Rizzo's got Hanlon, and Hanlon's got Trent Thomas for company. And from then on that down, they go all the way back to Joshua Bird in the big train of cars down to 13th. Then there's just a small gap back to 14th. Huge train of cars off this restart still.
Absolutely, and that is a move there for Jackson Sizzlin Harlow on Cody Bircher, and a good exit up the hill as well. So position swap for them. And our field filing through turns 10A and 10B. Thomas Hens, one of the drivers that's trying to make something of this race, battling hard through the midfield. Cody Bircher still on the back. And Reese Gasol now having another go at Ethan Warren. He's obviously not happy with being behind the Aldous boy. And now, goodness me, Ross Rizzo, he's had to back out of so many moves. And now he's becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle because Hanlon and Thomas and a lot of their friends are right behind them.
Good news for him as they couldn't make any moves through the S's, but that's not a fantastic looking run for Ross Rizzo coming out of turn number 5. Might come under pressure from Zachary Hanlon, not through turn 6. Shouldn't be a move through turn 7, but providing he gets a good exit, look for Hanlon to have a run down the back straight away. And it looks like it's going to be tucked right up in behind his draft. Luis Paul-Gun has retired his car from this race, so a front runner early on. Not going to finish this race. Big shame for him. Not much he could really do about that incident. But now Hanlon is getting closer and closer and closer to the back, and now he's alongside Ross Rizzo into turn 10A up the inside. Gets the move done.
Nice.
Can Rizzo cut back?
Whoa!
Wiggle for what? For Hanlon.
Have a look at Briggs in the Porsche. Fantastic traction up the hill there. Getting the move done on Scott Kozlowski as well. So a lot of battles once again going on all at once. Meanwhile, this is the one for the race lead. Ryan Jarek still managing to hold off Alexander Bird. Oh no,
Oh, that's
no,
a no! That's
no!
Reese Gasol's in the wall. That's an Altus Esports car as well.
Warren, Ethan Warren.
It's Ethan Warren.
Oh my goodness. He was one of the best performers.
Let's get a replay up. Warren
One of the
had been
best
charging
performers.
through the field. What has happened? Gasil's gone for the move at turn 1. Oh, he's run him out. There's no... Oh, no.
Nah, that's the change of line in the circuit. And the caution flag has been thrown. Trent Thomas, meanwhile, gotten a little bit of a tizzy there with Joshua Burden and Scott Kozlowski and Adam Briggs as well, just before the caution was called. We'll get a replay of that as well, but my goodness, as we take a look at this, what a race-changing incident. And I get the feeling Ethan Warren, yes, he was holding the outside, but unfortunately, Reese Gasol trying to do the impossible when the track continued bending to the right.
That's a shame. No, I couldn't quite see from that angle. It looked like maybe Warren got a little bit loose on the outside line and just came into the side of Gasul. Not sure if Gasul did in fact make contact previously to that. But I'm going to throw up an interesting question. 45 minutes left in this race. Is it worth pitting now and going to the end? Can it be done?
I think so. I think, well, we're going to be under safety car conditions for at least another 2 laps, and under safety car, that's 3 minutes. So, yeah, if you can make it about 45 minutes on a tank with a bit of fuel saving, a little bit of traffic management, I reckon you could do it.
I'd say it's certainly worth trying.
Yeah.
For a number of these guys, I'll definitely try it. Be interesting to see who does make the move. Ryan Jarek, he did a fantastic job to hold the lead. Was assisted a little bit by that gigantic crash behind him. Alexander Bird was lucky to get through that one without too much damage. He was just the car ahead of it. Pretty lucky in that one. And Brett Cananzi as well. He held on to P3 as well. So a couple of those guys that stayed out off that previous restart as the result of making the pit stop earlier have held on to their spot. So I'll be happy about that one, because now they're on the same strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to pay dividends for them come the end of the race. Means that we'll actually possibly get a race towards the end rather than it being decided on strategy alone. Well, as they come up to the last couple of corners and the sun continues setting, we're actually going to be finishing almost at night conditions. It's almost 8:15 in the evening in sim time, which is why everyone's got their lights on and the sun's so low in the sky. There's one car in the pits as everyone comes round. Who is going to jump into the pits this time round is the point that I was trying to make. Yeah, that's quite interesting. There's a couple of people who are almost faking. Hanlon in particular.
No one biting, not in the top half of the field anyway. Neil Pearson going to be the first car to dive down into the pit lane.
Hunter as well. Sutton decides to take another opportunity to get some repairs done. Darren Lobb and Anthony Winkleman coming in. Winkleman will take any chance he can get to try and do a long run to the end, gain a few extra positions, more points. Silvassi and Sean Reed also coming in behind them, and Dominic Ferraris filing in too.
Oh, unless they're excellent, we don't know, which is entirely possible. We might see some of those guys who've pitted now up towards the top 10 sort of area by the end of this race, because these guys are going to have to pit under green flag conditions, barring another caution in this race.
Yeah, certainly. And it's going to be a big question for the people at the front of this pack, like Jarek, Bird, Cananzi, Harlow, Bircher. These guys will all want to stay out as long as they possibly can and make their stops as late as possible towards the end, I believe. Meanwhile, hardest charger, Ryan, is Stuart Coulter, plus 30 positions. How's that?
He's had an absolutely stunning race as Coulter. Up in 18th position at the moment, started back there in 48th, almost at the back of the field, and made up quite a few spots. He's dodged some of the biggest crashes we've seen in this race, and done a fantastic job so far. Hopefully, for his sake at least, he can keep making that charge forward. Certainly well placed, middle of the pack. Might have to dodge a few more crashes though off this restart. Would not surprise me one little bit if we see some more action off this one.
Oh, absolutely not, especially from the likes of Alexander Bird, because he, in that Trick Sim Sports BMW, is eager to take the lead back from Ryan Jarek, who is off strategy. Meanwhile, we have a race control incident review. It's going to be reviewed post-race. Is that incident off the restart? That'll be interesting. Well, the drivers are going to have another restart to worry about here. When will Jarek go this time? Is he going to go early? Alexander Bird certainly chomping at the bit, but Ryan Jarek playing by the rules, and as it's announced in Sim, away he goes. And that's resulted in the pack getting crossed up behind him. This is going to be a bit of an accordion effect, Ryan. I think we might see another incident if we're not careful. Double file coming into turn 3, but Ryan Jarek is still leading this one as they come back into the S's for the first time.
Oh, that could have been disastrous. They've all shuffled through there somehow and got themselves single file. That was an
On the
amazing
lights.
piece of driving from all of these guys. The lights come on, and the battle for the lead is on. The top three cars, Liner, Stern, all showing their noses into turn 6, making the way through to turn 7. Turn 7's quite tricky. No real braking markers that I've certainly found, at least. And makes it very easy to make a mistake, run wide, and screw up your exit there. But for now, Ryan Jarrett is going to hold on, but here comes the run for Alexander Bird. Can he get himself close enough to make a last-minute dive down into turn number 10? He certainly looks like he may be close enough. Up the inside, does he go there? He goes there side by side, and Jarrett just seems to let him go there, and Alexander Bird back into the lead of this race.
Nicely done. And no further action for the incident that brought out the safety car between the 444 and the 59. Considered a racing incident by race control. Meanwhile, Jackson Harlow trying to chase down Brett Cananzi. This is for position 3, and Altus Train coming up behind them, as well as Cody Bircher, Rizzo, Briggs, Sidlowski, Thomas, etc. This is a massive train for the reaches of the top 10.
Certainly is. Restarts bring upon many things, one of which is a lot of action, another of which is safety cars, which we've managed to avoid so far at least, receiving our third one of the day. We'll see whether they can make their way to the end of the race. Green flag as Adam Briggs is under pressure from Scott Szlowski. Briggs currently back in 8th place. Made up a few spots from where he started. He started from 13th place, as now Harlow and Cananzi are side by side for P number 3 into turn 10. Going the long way is Harlow, and making the move sick is Jackson Harlow. That was a supreme piece of racing on the brakes.
Very nice indeed from Harlow, and now Cananzi is starting to drop further back. Zach Hanlon is now right on the back of him. Big move now into turn 1, but Cananzi holding the outside, making life difficult for Hanlon here, and Cody Birch's having a good sniff, as is Rizzo, and the train behind them starting to compress. Could be some more drama coming.
Certainly could be, or there could be some incredibly close racing. There's been another incident on the track. That is the Benjamin Johnson driven car once again in another incident today. Stuart Coulter. Oh no, he's had an incident. We were just talking him up. We've put the mocker on him, I think. Let's get a modem simulations replay. It looks like Johnson got a bit loose and nothing Coulter could do there. Gets put into the wall as he spins off, and unfortunate incident for both those drivers.
Yeah, that is a big shame. It's unfortunate because the exit of turn 3, it's not really a place you want to go side by side unless you have big trust in the guy beside you. We'll stay on the replay to see something that happened as the caution comes out in live conditions. This is, oh my goodness, a big incident. Adrian Leakey on his roof. He was checking up because of the response to that other incident between Coulter and Johnson.
Yep, that'll be the reason for the caution. Another safety car comes out, and we're stuck in a loop at the moment. Safety car restart, and yet another one comes out. Boy, oh boy. They're getting aggressive out there.
We're certainly getting a lot of opportunities to rest our voices, aren't we?
Yeah, it's certainly nice. You get a bit of action, you get a bit of a chance to rest your voice, and then you get going again for another short burst, it looks like. But I'm just having a look now. Are there any other huge moves in this field? Cody Birch has done pretty well. He's up 18 spots. He's up in 6th place, so kudos to him. Cam Dance has come up 19 spots. Thomas Hinton's up 19. Justin Wallace of Racing Else is up 15. There's a few big movers in this pack.
Yeah. Dave Clements up 25. Troy Duffin up 27. So even the guys that started at the very back of the field are starting to find themselves further up in those points-paying positions.
All you got to do sometimes is keep your car on the track, don't make a mistake, drive conservatively, and everyone else sometimes, as we've seen today, just crashes out around you, and sometimes that's all you need in motorsport.
Well, while we are under these safety car conditions, we might take the opportunity to take a quick break with these messages from our sponsors. You are watching the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia from Road Atlanta. There are currently 35 minutes to go in this one.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Gotta love this time of year. Only one can be champion. Let's go playoff racing. I said, hey, there's no surrender. Let 'em hear my battle
You're watching the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. You just saw our race leader, Alexander Bird, come into the pits, and the vast majority of the field following him in. As the vast majority of the field starting to take their stops. But interestingly, Ryan Jerrick has not pitted again. And Winkleman, that means, is the effective leader of the race. He's already pitted twice. He's already completed the compulsory number of pit stops.
Well, I mentioned in the last caution, we may see these guys who pit back up the front. Well, we're certainly going to see that, because Winkleman finds himself in P number 5 on track, regional leader of the race, after making the pit stop in the last caution. And we talked about Ryan Jerrick staying out again. Something we just mentioned during that little break, does he even realise that he has to make 2 pit stops? That could be a very real possibility here. Certainly a misplay if he does realise.
Yeah, certainly. Hopefully Jerrick does have a plan that involves making an extra pit stop. If that is not the case, Earth to Ryan, you have to pit again. So Philip Worley now behind him on the restart. There's a few lapped cars that have now gone up in terms of track position, and we're currently waiting on an incoming report from race control. Be interesting to see what they have to say about the incident that brought out this safety car. It's going to be a post-race review, apparently, so requires some more thought, considering that both cars are out of the race.
Going to have a lot of work to do, these stewards, after this race, but looks like we're going to go green this time by. Laps car's not going to get waved around, and Ryan Jerrick's going to lead them off once more.
Yep, that's it. Ryan Jerrick leading them away. And Philip Worley actually getting the better start here. He might be looking to unlap himself. No, this is actually for position. My mistake. Philip Worley trying to go for the race lead. Dave Clements right behind him. But the drivers that we're going to start focusing on are starting in about 4th, 5th place. Those are the positions that we'll have to start watching fairly soon as they try and make their way up on these guys. But Philip Worley and Ryan Jerrick seem to have spaced themselves out a little bit. Where actually Worley starting to fall into the clutches of Stubber and Clements.
They are. And can I just mention quickly, he hasn't pitted twice, but Dave Clements off 41 spots. That's impressive.
Yeah, certain. Fantastic stuff. All of the drivers in the top 3 have only pitted once. Everyone else in the field has taken at least 2 stops in this one, so they're all in the clear. Oh, goodness me, that's a little off. Oh, Darren Lobb. Goodness me, off at the last chicane in some very trying circumstances, apparently.
Yeah, that looked a bit hairy for a bit of a moment there, and they almost went 3 wide on entry, and then he found himself 3 wide rejoining the track as well. Did Darren Lobb, and that was all a bit awkward for those drivers. Get a replay up on the screen. That was the rejoin. He rejoined alongside the battle. That was Martin Silvassi, and I think that's Jackson Harlow. It is Jackson Harlow.
Yeah.
If you're on the inside, went Harlow for P6.
Excellent stuff there, and Harlow continuing to show his worth at Altus Esports in these cars. Meanwhile, Solowski and Briggs, these guys they've not left each other alone in this one. They've changed position again, possibly about 12 times now, and they've got a little bit of traffic to contend with as well. Meanwhile, Trent Thomas, John Piesnik! Oh, Cameron Dance making rear-end contact with the BMW, and that has escalated once again. Another incident that was way bigger than it had to be.
It's just this racetrack, they're having issues. That's Justin Wallace. Did he get a piece of that? Doesn't look like it did, but Piesnik is stopped on the track. Will it bring out another caution in this race? For the sake of the race, I hope not.
Yeah, I certainly hope not either. But goodness me, Dave Clements and Anthony Winkleman side by side coming into turn one. Trying for a piece of the pie also is Alexander Bird, who, remember, was the race leader for much of this one. Piesnik still stopped on the circuit up at the top of the hill, so I don't know if race control are going to throw a caution flag again. He's asking permission to tow. We are staying green. That is a big shame for Piesnik. I mean, that incident, I think, was kind of unnecessary. Meanwhile, Dave Clements trying his best to exist on track, out of effective position, but Cameron Stubber making a little bit of contact. Adam Gardner around, meanwhile, as Jackson Harlow finds himself in the midst of this battle. Dave Clements with a good run in the BMW. They're going to go 3 wide. Cameron Stubber all the way over on driver's left. Jackson Harlow is not going to want this. This is not what he signed up for in this one. He wants to be fighting for those top positions, not trying to avoid these interesting incidents we're going through in the middle of these chicanes.
We'll get a replay up on screen for John Piesnik's incident. Brilliant motor simulation, of course. Here he goes, coming out of turn number 5 on the run down towards turn 6, trying to go around the outside. Did he lose it by himself? I think he might have, but then contact with a couple other cars. Dance got into, in fact, and a couple of the cars get involved there in the middle of the corner. Justin Wallace was one of those drivers, and another driver I've mentioned having a good race, and again gets involved in an incident.
Yes, indeed. There's been some trouble, meanwhile, in the land of the present for Dave Clements. Oh no! Yeah, we've got another car around. Jackson Harlow has been turned around. And there's another view of Dance turning around Piesnik, but Jackson Harlow has become the next car in the land of the present to be turned around. This is what happened. So Harlow comes up on Clements, and I mean, Clements has every right to defend his position here. It is for position, but they go side by side, and Harlow turns in, and Clements decides to hold the line.
Yeah, that's an interesting on board with Hamlin. This is his view of it. I think maybe Harlow turned in a fraction too early there and pinched him a bit too much, in my opinion, but unfortunate for Harlow. A lot of good work undone. He's in the pit lane now to repair damage.
Yeah, he certainly is, touring around at pit speeds while everyone battles in front. Meanwhile, the battle for the effective lead here, Anthony Winkleman and Alexander Bird at 2.5 seconds between these guys. I am interested to see what Jarek and Worley do. Meanwhile, the battle behind Clements is still heating up. Silvassi and Hanlon fighting very hard for position as Clements has turned into a bit of a cork in the bottle, so to speak. These guys now side by side down the straight.
A good exit from the Silvassi to keep himself ahead of Hanlon, but the draft probably going to come into effect here, and it does come into effect as Hanlon starts to claw back now at Silvassi. Will he make a lunge into turn 10? It'd be ambitious. He shows the nose at least. He does make the lunge, gets alongside. Can he pull it up? He can. Side by side, almost contact. Silvassi's going to hold on, and now here comes Cody Bircher getting through on the inside through turn 11 and turn 12, and now Hanlon might lose a spot from all this. Up onto the curb goes Bircher, but Hanlon's going to hold on to that spot. Bircher unable to capitalise. Winkleman's gone through on Alexander Bird is on Philip Worley for P number 2, so Winkleman moves up through the order.
Yeah, and indeed that means Winkleman assumes the effective lead of the race once Worley and Jarek pit. Meanwhile, Silvassi and Hanlon still going at it just as hard as they always have in this race. Huge battles going on here, and Cody Bircher actually attacking Hanlon from behind, so Hanlon's having to go majorly defensive into these braking zones. These guys are really struggling to get the throttle down properly, and Dave Clements showing once again he is a bit out of position, and a big pace difference between himself and these guys who usually battle for the top 10 or thereabouts. Dave Clements, you got to remember, started in 44th, and now side by side, he lets Martin Silvassi go. Now it's up to Zach Hanlon. Will he be able to get the power down properly? They're going to go side by side through the last turn. I'm sure these guys are going to be very unhappy, but Clements is doing what he has every right to do, which is defend his position.
Yes, certainly. Now it looks like Bircher's going to get through as well, and Sazarski's going to want to get involved as well. He's going to go side by side. Clements going to back out of it. Probably going to lose a spot. Will lose a spot to Adam Briggs as well, and he's been absolutely freight during those Dave Clements, as here comes Darren Lobb, who's actually a lapped car, and he's lost a handful of spots very quickly there.
Yeah, he certainly has. Well, regardless, it has been a very good run from Dave Clements, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. In fact, he is one of those drivers who hasn't made a second pit stop yet, so regardless, it's been a good run from him. Should expect him to finish somewhere in the midfield.
Yeah, certainly should, and definitely with the amount of cars involved in incidents too, he won't be near the back, that's for sure. And now Adam Briggs is coming under pressure from a lapped car, so let's not pay attention to that one. And they've all started to sort themselves out now. For the first time in this race, a little bit of gap forming in the front few spots, but it's still on a little bit further down the order. Trent Thomas trying to fend off Cameron Dance, the gap between them about 3.5 tenths per second. On the live timing, goes out to 6 tenths. There's a good exit for Cam Dance off turn 10.
Yes, indeed, and Joshua Burden right behind him. These guys all racing together, and Cameron Dance, of course, with a bit of a cloud hanging over him. I'm sure Race Control is still taking a look at his incident with John Peasnick. We'll see a decision on that pretty soon, I gather. But Dance still doing very well in 12th, holding off Burden of Fusion Sim Racing, and Trent Thomas is actually starting to gap these guys as a result. It looks like Dance is starting to hold these guys up. Hins, Stubber, Pearson behind him as well.
It looks that way. And the big pack of cars starting to form. We just had a quick look at the leaders of the race in the live stream where the gap has come down to 8 tenths per second, and has come down even more so now as they make their way through turns 11 and 12. We continue to watch this battle between Burden and Dance. Burden will look like he'll just sit in behind them. I've just lost the stream, but I can't commentate on that one, unfortunately. I'm going to go back and find it on iRacing.
Well, it's still quite the battle. Thomas Hins is now starting to come into it with a 3-car battle, as now it is the 2-car battle for the lead that receives our attention, because the gap is under half a second. Ryan Jarek desperately defending, and Winkleman gaining even on Bird, 3.5 seconds ahead of him.
He is, and there's another slow car on track. Sean Reed is bouncing along off the wall. He's got big damage to his car. Hopefully he gets it back to the pits. Doesn't want a safety car off that one. Battle for the lead is heating up. Ryan Jarek right there in front of Anthony Winkleman, down the back straight away. He's certainly going to be close enough to make a move. Does he want to make the move? I would say yes. Jarek himself is going to say yes. Up the inside he looks, up the inside he goes, and up the inside the move gets made. New leader in this race, Anthony Winkleman. He's made both his pit stops. He's in prime position right now. Leading from Ryan Jarek and Philip Worley. Alexander Bird is 3.8 seconds back.
Yes, indeed. But I don't think we'll see Alexander Bird put up much of a fight to Winkleman towards the end. That's a big gap to cover in the last 20 minutes of this race with the pace those guys are going at. Meanwhile, we still wait for Philip Worley to pit as Sislowski and Bircher fighting for 7th and 8th still. These guys have been battling for a while, and some problems we're hearing for Adam Briggs. Not quite sure what's going on. He's lost 2 seconds. Starting to fall into the clutches of the train headed by Trent Thomas, with Clements and Dance as well behind them.
Yeah, the never-ending battle between Briggs and Sazowski looks to have ended, unfortunately, for those guys that are having a good old race, and Briggs has fallen a couple seconds further down the order now. Going to come under pressure from a few more guys. And Anthony Winkleman has not really pulled away from Ryan Jarek, actually. He's still right there with him, as Alexander Bird is right up on the back of Philip Worley, not going to make the move. Jarek's putting up a fight, but he's not
There goes Jarek.
any increments, and into the lane he comes. Jackson Harlow's had an incident. He's slow on track, and he's stopped on track. Jackson Harlow, from bad to worse, to a motor simulation replay now. What has gone on for Harlow? Up the inside at turn 3, it looks like, through the S's. That's ambitious. That's too ambitious. You really can't make a move there. He's tried it anyway. Off the track he goes. No big contact. Maybe just pulling up and giving up on that one.
That's a real shame for him and Pat Gallo on the outside there, doing all that he could. But of course, as I said right at the start of this broadcast, it may be wide, but there is only one line through that section, and you want to avoid going side by side if you can.
Yeah, you do. Pat Gallo was a lap down and trying to get out of the way. Unfortunately, didn't move quite as far out of the way as Harlow would have liked. Not much he could really do there, unfortunately. The gap out front, 3.5 seconds. He's taken a couple of attempts out of it, has Alexander Bird, but not making enough progress at the moment if he wants to catch him. Well on board with Neil Pearson, chasing down Thomas Hinds, right in behind that Ford of the Sim Racing Channel, and now right alongside that Ford of the Sim Racing Channel. Down turn 10. He's going to get the draft, is in fact down off the car in front of him. The Fusion Sim Racing car is Neil Pearson. Going to complete the move unless he looks to make the move back, but he won't. Good move there, down the straight, got the run. It's all he needed. It's all she wrote.
Yeah, very nice stuff there from Neil Pearson. Well done on Thomas Hinds. But Hinsey, he's a fighter, he is. He'll try and come back at him if he can. He's got a good run through these fast turns around this half of the lap.
Yeah, he does. We'll see whether he can make a spot back here. JR directed lane aside. Scott Sazowski is fast out there on track. It did a 15.7 last time by, which is only 0.3 off Anthony Winkleman. It's faster than the guy right up in front of him, which is Zachary Hanlon. We'll see whether he can chase down Hanley. He's only a couple cents behind him as it stands to make their way through turn number 7 and onto the back straightaway they go. The back straightaway that, according to Road Atlanta track maps, has 2 turns in it, turns 8 and turns 9. They're more kinks than anything, certainly nothing these drivers would be phased about. But that's the reason that was turn 7, and we call this one up here turn 10, if anyone of you have been wondering.
Yeah, they're very gentle curves in the road, aren't they? But one of them, that particular one that that Hanlon and Sislowski just went through, provides a very good opportunity to put a move up the inside. And Hanlon having a little bit of trouble on exit, as on entry we see some side-by-side action. Thomas Hinds and Sam Sutton coming together here for Lucky 13. And it is a move at turn 1, or is it? Have a look at the run that Hanlon gets, the traction up the hill. Fantastic stuff from the Altus BMW.
Those Altus cars are planted through that corner up the hill, aren't they? You mentioned earlier Ethan Warren getting fantastic drive on the uphill sections. It looks like his teammate is too. And in the setup there, it looks like for the Altus cars, they've got those cars hooked up. Everyone has finally completed their second pit stop of the race. All the compulsories are out of the way, and it's a straight fight to the end with just 16 minutes remaining. It's starting to wind down this race. The action, though, the action isn't winding down at all. They're still fighting hard.
Yeah, they certainly are, especially for those positions in and around the top 5. Scott Sislowski versus Zach Hanlon here. Altus versus Trek. Really looking forward to seeing how these guys match up down the straight. Little bit defensive move there from Hanlon, but Sedlowski was still able to have the room. Bit of a crossover potential here on the exit, but oh man, the Altus car is planted up the hills, but not that time around. It ended up bogging down.
I tell you what, it didn't bog down. He got straight up into the back of Scott Sosowski, actually. Made contact with him, which ended his run. And you can't go anywhere if you are trying to go through the car. Not going to work for you. So we'll see whether he can come back at Sosowski, or the Sosowski's going to utilise his pace and run away with 4th place. 3 seconds away from Silvassi. We'll see whether he can chase that down. The gap in the lead, though, that's opened up. Winkelmann's starting to turn it up a notch, and Bird is 4.2 seconds off now. So that one's starting to almost settle itself. Never want to speak too soon, though. Battle for 10th place. Joshua Bird and Fusion Sim Racing got DPR car of Neil Pearson in behind him. This is a 3-car train. This one, 10th, 11th, and 12th, all line of turn through turn number 6. They make their way through. Sam Sutton, that car, in 12th place. We saw him going side by side with Neil Pearson earlier on. And on the run down through turn 8, the back straightaway. And turn 9 as well, the little kink here, which should make the opportunity arise for Sam Sutton on the back of Neil Pearson, and it does. He shows a nose. Doesn't go for the dive, though, that time around. Certainly looking to make the move, though, as that was a beautiful exit, actually, from Neil Pearson, getting right up towards the back of Joshua Burden. And will he try the ever-ambitious move into turn 1? Burden's going to make sure he doesn't. Takes the defensive line, cuts back, but we're watching Benjamin Johnson go side by side in with the Porsche of Philip Woolley for 19th place, and now under pressure comes Benjamin Johnson from another car.
Yeah, careful, boys, coming into turn 1, and it just goes to show, no matter where you are in the field, you can have a good battle. Oh dear, that is a car stopped in a very awkward position. That is Adrian Leakty. Oh, goodness me. He's managing to keep it off the track, though. I don't think it will be a full course caution, just a local yellow.
That was the man that was upside down on his roof earlier in this race. He's been in the wars. I think I was at the same corner as well. He's having some issues with that section of the track for sure. But that battle of Neil Pearson, Sam Sutton, not over with. Here comes
Burden,
Pearson.
Defensive again.
There goes Burden.
Oh, look out!
Defensive. Oh, he's tried to get out the dive. He's not. Oh, pinching the rears.
Or was he trying to defend from Sutton? He's trying to do two things at once there, I think, as Neil Pearson. He's got a lot to think about around here. But Josh Burden has managed to skip away from these guys just briefly, and now Cameron Dance right on the back of Sam Sutton. Oh, what's happened to Pearson? Oh, he's a little bit wide in turn 1. Sutton almost going for the move here, but as the sun truly sets at Road Atlanta, visibility going down, these guys will be well and truly used to driving around this track from muscle memory alone. So any deviation they make has to be precise. And I get the feeling a certain deviation will be made in a braking zone very, very soon, because Sam Sutton...
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
Benjamin Johnson, that's a turn 1.
Oh, those are the guys we were looking at earlier.
Right on the racing line as well. Will this be a caution if they can't move their cars? I would certainly think it will be. That's Troy Duffin in the gravel. He's made the fence. You can see the telltale tyre marks on the gravel trap there. That's 3 cars involved in yet another crash in this race. Let's get a modem simulation replay up, and already spinning was Benjamin Johnson and Damon Stockton. We'll go a bit further back here. This will tell the full story. Through turn 12, they went side by side. Through the main straight, they went side by side, and trying to thread a gap that was never there was Damon Stockton. Overly ambitious, and unsurprisingly, that does not work. How did Duffin get involved? Through turn 1.
Tried to avoid it. Credit to him. But Stockton was actually backing up on the track, so Duffin didn't have anywhere to go. We are staying green, however. All drivers managed to clear the scene. That is a shame, though, that incident. Just goes to show you have to be perceptive of other drivers not changing their lines around you.
Yeah, you certainly do want a drive-through penalty. You can see on screen there for car 39 for causing that incident. Luckily, we stay green, though. Race Control do not want to throw this caution, and I don't blame them. We've seen 3 of them already. And this is a battle that I'm watching, at least. Brett Cadenzi and Chris Allen for 14th place. Side by side through turn 6. And they get really close on the exit through turn 7. Chris Own gonna hold him off, but he's gonna really compromise his exit there, and Brett Cadenzi gonna be all over him down the back straight away through turn 8 and 9 and into turn 10. He might get alongside him before they reach turn 10, and he'll pull to the outside. Almost seems to be the favoured move around the outside at turn 10. It seems ambitious, but it's working for a lot of drivers. Will it work for Kenanzi? He gets squeezed to the exit of the track, and Pearson's gone around to that battle for 10th place.
Oh, look out!
He's going to rejoin right in front of this battle that we were talking about. This is Chris Own trying to poke his nose up the inside at turn 12. No room for him there, but he's going to do it anyway. Through the main straight they go. Side by side, will it work better than the last time we saw cars attempt this? And it will. Own backs out of it. But
Pearson!
Wobble on the exit, and off the track he goes. And from bad to worse for yet another car in this race.
And credit to Pearson, though. He was doing well trying to hold his own up there. Just running out of pace, running out of tyres. Here's another look at what happened to him there. Actually got a slight bit of contact there from Sam Sutton, who continues to try and fight Josh Burden for those last couple of positions in the top 10. What happened here from Sam Sutton's perspective? So Burden going defensive, as he had many times before, and Sutton, I think, sensed that the gap was opening on the inside, but his car was already under load, and he couldn't move over in time.
Yeah, just sort of misjudged that one, did Sutton, and outbraked the car in front. Unfortunately, it was right behind the car in front, and around goes Pearson. This is the battle for P4. This is Scott Cisłowski of Trick Sim Sports ahead of that, I must say, striking Altus Esports livery of Zachary Hanlon. Making the way through turn 1. We'll see whether he can make a move. Won't be making any moves through the S's though. It has to be a brave man to try that, and we've seen already cars going side by side through the S's, not working to anyone's favour. And a little bit further back behind them is a battle for 6th place as well. Cody Bircher and Adam Briggs, who's made his way back up a few spots.
Yeah, he certainly has. Briggs, one of the star performers, as is Bircher. Both of them started outside the top 10. In fact, Bircher starting outside the top 20. And these two guys, Cameron Dance and Thomas Hinz, fighting for 11th and 12th. They both started outside the top 30, and they've kept each other company all the way through. Yeah,
they certainly have. They've come through the pack together, up 20 and up 21 spots respectively for Dance and Hinz. And Hinz will be looking to make it 22 spots gained in this race, up on the back of Cam Dance now. Down the back straight away once again, it's where all the action is happening in this race. It's all the overtaking happening down here at turn 10, occasionally at turn 1, but certainly this is the favourite spot. And here goes Hinzy up the inside. Doesn't get fully alongside and can't get the move done, but look at the power. He gets down off the exit of the turn 10B corner and trying to go around the long way at turn 12. Cam Dance just squeezes it, leaves in just enough room. Great racing from these guys. This is how it should be done.
Excellent stuff, and of course Dance and Hinz, a lot of mutual respect for each other. They've raced together quite a bit, so it's awesome to see them show how to properly race at Road Atlanta. Some good room given, but no quarter, not much quarter given than is needed. Hinz still on the back of him through the S's as we take a look at Neil Pearson, who's gotten all the way back down to 16th. He's trying to chase down DPR's Richard Hunter. Coming out of the S's, doesn't have much time to make good on this one, but remember, he did start outside the top 20, so this is a plus for Mr. Pearson.
Yeah, it certainly is, and this is a decent little battle pack, this one. 5 or so cars involved. There's a couple more cars, not too far off the back of it either, and we'll see whether there's any spots being exchanged here on the run down to turn 10. I think Kenanzi on Chris Own will be the one to look for, and we are here from race control. No further action is all. That's a car off the track, and that's Kenanzi trying to go through, and we're watching Thomas Hinz and Cam Dance still, and who's that rejoining? That was the car I mentioned. That's Chris Own. Yeah, Chris Own trying to fend off Kenanzi, overcooked it on the brakes, and loses the spot. And now we may see another spot being exchanged here as Chris Own comes under pressure from Richard Hunter up the inside at turn 1. Oh, they got very close together, but they're holding on now. Don't go side by side through here, boys. And Neil Pearson wisely backs out of that one. And luckily so, because Hunter was headed for the outside of that corner very fast.
Yeah, that was an accordion effect that lasted for an entire lap, but That is an interesting decision by Race Control to take no further action on the incident between Peasnick and Dance, because it was a fairly clear-cut case. Dance tried to go for the move and ended up dooring Peasnick. So I'm wondering that apparently there is a case for Peasnick turning in on him. So that was a factor in Race Control's decision making. Fair enough. We aren't up in the steward's box. We're just the shouty men.
I like the shouting. I'll stick to the shouting. I tell you what, I couldn't do the job these stewards do of adjudicating all these incidents that have unfolded in this race. So credit to them for that one.
Yeah, it's not an easy job being in Race Control, especially in a series like this one where there are a lot of tempers flaring and a lot of hard racing and a lot of incidents to be looked at. But the drivers have managed to put on, regardless of everything, an excellent show, and there's still more to come potentially, as Cameron Dance actually slow into turn 3, nearly actually came together with Chris Owen and the like. So what happened to Dance here?
Through turn 1, up onto the curb, oversteer and all, that's a big hit. He got all 4 wheels off the ground. Airtime for Cameron Dance. It's an undulating track. Getting airtime, you've done it the wrong way for Cam Dance.
And meanwhile, something's happened to Winkleman.
It's down to 1.8 seconds. He's in the pit lane.
Oh no! Oh. He's short. He's short on fuel. He isn't able to make it to the end. Anthony Winkleman, he could have had a chance to win this one, but his car doesn't have the fuel to complete. Silvassian as well. Splash and dash is happening. I think we might see more cars coming in as it's on for second now between Scott Kozlowski and Zach Hanlon. These guys fighting for podium positions now. The face of this race has changed.
Oh, it certainly has. The masterstroke strategy has come unstuck. They didn't have enough fuel. That's why we didn't see most of the field come into the lane that first caution. And oh, that's a big shame. We thought he had it home and dry, but with 3 minutes to go in this race, closer on 4. Into the pit lane he comes with Silvassi. But now it's a battle for second place on track. A long way off the leader of Zach Alexander Bird. About 15 seconds, these guys. But flashing the lights is Zachary Hanlon taking after his Altus Esports teammate of Mr. Bo Albert. And wonder if he's been taking lessons from him and overtaking the GT machinery as well. He's having a look up the inside at turn 10. Not anywhere near close enough that time by. That's a car off on the background. You see the headlights there on the gravel shaft. Not sure who that was. And precarious spot that he was looking to be in. That was an odd one there.
Yeah, that's Sean Reed down in 39th position. He's stuck in the gravel trap there, I think waiting for the field to go by, just because it is a very awkward position to be in at the exit of the final chicane. Meanwhile, that battle for the podium continuing, and my goodness, these guys have not left each other alone all race. Neither has Brett Cananzi and Chris Owen. They're almost coming together into turn 1. Proper battle pack of cars still here for that last position in the top 10 with an extra car in it now as well.
Yeah, Silvassi's come out in the middle, but he's only lost a few spots down to 13th. Winkerman only went back to 4th place. Not a huge loss, but it's chucked him off the podium at least. And still disappointing, but this battle for 10th place, or not 10th place, sorry, a little bit further back, 11th place, Cananzi, Alm, Silvassi, Pearson, Jarek, Richard Hunter a little bit way off the back of it as well, all fighting hard for this position, and Hunter's got Woolley for close company as well. And all of it sideways got Chris Owen coming off the exit of turn number 7, but the battle is on for P2. At the same time, there's battles happening all across the track.
They're about to make a move for 12th and 13th here. Martin Silvassi and Chris Owen fighting. Or 11th and 12th, I should probably say as well, up for contention here. Silvassi on the outside. What will Chris Owen be able to do under power? He gets it down nicely. Good right foot application from Chris Owen. Neil Pearson and Ryan Jarek right in the middle of this. Ryan, who led this race for so long, and Neil Pearson, he manages to keep it on the track there, but that was really hairy for Pearson.
That was wild. Right up onto the grass there, and that's a car that's gone around to the exit of pit lane. That is Troy Duffin. That was a very precarious spot. Those guys just slipped by him. Hanlon is really close now to Scott Sazlowski in the battle for P2. 1 minute and 7 seconds left in this race. They'll take the white flag next time around, I do believe. Can Hanlon make a last-minute move on Scott Sazlowski for second place in this race? Oh, it's going to be tight.
Yeah, it certainly is, because Sazlowski obviously has played a really good defensive game here, but Zach Hanlon, I think, in all the moves he's tried to make, he's taken it out of his tyres. Trent Thomas and Sam Sutton still contending for 7th, 13th and 14th. The likes of position 12th and 13th as well, still up for contention as the drivers all start the last lap. Alexander Bird, though, remains in the lead of this one.
There's lap traffic in front of Sazlowski.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. This could play potentially into the battle.
Caught him in a good spot, though.
Yeah, certainly did, as the timer goes 3, 2, 1, 0. And that means that it is the final lap. And just up ahead of these guys, Alexander Bird will be taking the last couple of corners in what has been a very well-deserved victory for this Trick Sim Sports driver. 3 race victories in a row for Alexander Bird. He's had some patchy form in the past, but he's put the past well and truly behind him. Alexander Bird taking a fantastic victory for Trick Sim Sports, and it looks like 2nd and 3rd is going to stay that way, but between Trent Thomas and Sam Sutton for 7th and 8th, that's side by side now into the chicane. Trent Thomas trying to hold him off. It looks like he might have, but Sutton gets a good run. He's not able to take advantage of it, almost into the back of Thomas. Can they go side by side through the last turn? Sutton almost gets the run, but just enough room given by Trent Thomas. He has the run, and he claims 7th position. Fantastic racing.
Fantastic stuff. Look at this. P14, Jarek and Silvasti going side by side as well. They're going to sort themselves out. Jarek will come home in 13th place out of Silvasti, and 14th, Fuller Wally behind them, 15th place. We look down the field. Are there any more battles yet to be resolved? I can't see any. What about you?
Oh my goodness. Man. Goodness me, I cannot believe it. I am struggling to find the words. What a fantastic race this was. And what a fantastic victory for Alexander Bird. They finish under lights and at night. And don't the cars look pretty all lit up? It's going to look especially pretty for Alexander Bird. Before we go to race results, here is, once again, a message from our sponsor.
What I like most about working for Epiroc is that no 2 days are ever the same. One day you could be in the office, the next day you're travelling to mine sites in remote locations. This is what inspires me.
Epiroc Australia is looking for passionate people to be part of our global team and to make a real difference for our customers. If you're ready to start a new journey, visit us at epiroc.com.au. Here are the unofficial race results, round 3 of the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. Alexander Bird taking the win by 15 seconds from Scott Sazlowski. Zach Hanlon just holding on there for 3rd place. Anthony Winkleman and Adam Briggs round out the top 5. Cody Bircher finishes a very good 6th place, starting down in the field. And Trent Thomas just holding off Sam Sutton for 7th position.
Joshua Burden made it home in 9th place ahead of Thomas Hinds, who finished in 10th after starting all the way down in 33rd, up 23 spots. Great race for him. Brett Cananzi home in 11th ahead of Chris Allen in 12th. He got up 20 spots as well for Pro Tech Sim Sports. Ryan Jarek and Martin Silvasti, they were side by side, very close to the finish of that race. 13th and 14th for them. Neil Pearson and Philip Wally, 15th and 16th for DPR Racing.
Going back through the field, Richard Hunter and Justin Wallace, 17th and 18th. Ross Rizzo, a very unfortunate finish for one of the most consistent drivers in this series and a multiple champion himself. Cameron Dance rounding out the top 20. Dominic Ferraris and Simon Mazzomo, 21st and 22nd, with Dave Clements making it home in 23rd position. Adam Gardner right behind him, his teammate.
Benjamin Brook brought it home in 25th ahead of Reese Keane, John Nikolaev and Darren Huxham for 28th place. Blake Haswell held off Cameron Stubber. They're all 2 laps down. We're into the laps cars now, of course. Pat Gallo 31st. Benjamin Johnson was involved in his fair share of incidents in this one. He finished 3 laps down in 32nd.
33rd position was Troy Duffin, and was starting to come into the drivers that really had bad luck in this one. Darren Lobb, Damon Stockton involved in crashes, Stephen Bartholomew retiring too, Jackson Harlow going out of the race in spectacular fashion, Adrian Leakty having some adventures of his own, and Sean Reed and John Peasnick once again, drivers that could have made something of this one, but unfortunately fate decided otherwise.
Yeah, unfortunate race for all those guys, and for all these guys as well. Stuart Coulter, Ethan Warren, Reese Gasul, Louise Paulo Gallen, we saw involved in that huge incident off that first restart. Daniel Misdale, Brett Hender, Michael Healy, Mia Ott, 48th place, rounding out the order where Brendan Gregory, Joel Smith, and Mitchell McLeod finished in 51st place, rounding it out. Boy, oh boy, what a race that was. We thought it was home and dry, but Alexander Bird has asserted his dominance with another win.
He absolutely has, and he is going to join us in the commentary box presently. Welcome, Alex, for Trick Sim Sports. You have won 3 races in a row in the Epiroc Sprint Series Australia. You must be absolutely wrapped right now.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder when it's going to run out, but it's pretty good, eh? I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it was certainly an interesting race in terms of strategy as well, with the safety cars thrown in. It always seemed like Road Atlanta was going to be a challenging track from the start, but the incidents that we saw, obviously, you weren't near most of them, but it seemed like mayhem out there at times.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the one where Lewis and Ant had a bit of an issue. I sort of don't get. Like, my approach was be careful, conservative, and maximize my pace. And I just saw so many people throwing sends and all sorts of dumb stuff, and I just don't really understand why they're doing that. You just end up upside down. So, but no, to be honest, it's like pretty clean at the front for the most part. And you know, on the strategy, I had Ross Rizzo in the year saying, "Yeah, if you pit now, you can make it." And of course, I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, but you're Ross Rizzo. Are you sure?"
Of course. That's I guess that's a disadvantage of having one of the best fuel runners in the field as your teammate.
Sorry, I think I dropped out there for a moment. Could you repeat?
All good. I took a bit of a jab at Ross Rizzo's fuel saving there. But Alex, next round of the series is at Circuit of the Americas. It's a track that is notorious for incident counts, notorious for being extremely difficult, and notorious for being low grip. Your thoughts going into that one?
Oh, look, that's going to be really hard for me because I'm on a single monitor, so I can't see any apexes. I'm going to find it a bit tough. So, you know, I'll do my best and, you know, see if I can just at least have pace so I'm not getting overtaken a lot. But the ability to do those big dives there makes it really hard.
Well, nonetheless, COTA is going to be an eventful one, and wishing you the best of luck for that one, Alex. Who gets it done for you? Any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yeah, thanks, Reese. Just the usual Trick Sim Sports, Trick Custom Fabrications, Night Rider Designs, and, of course, all the boys in.
Thank you very much, Alexander Bird from Trick Sim Sports, your race winner. The next driver we're going to bring in is our second place finisher, just managing to hold off Zach Hanlon after a titanic battle all race for that last position on the podium. Scott Kozlowski joins us. Man, Scott, it was an incredible race, but wow, that battle between you and Zach certainly stole the show.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I was just chatting about it with Zach. Then we both enjoyed it as much as each other, but we're sort of a bit surprised to be racing up the front with those boys. To be honest, sort of just found my way there after some other guys fell over and a couple of safety cars, and there's a good roll of the dice with the strategy, and it paid off nicely with a trick one too. So stoked with that.
Yeah, certainly. We did notice that Anthony Winkleman had to take a splash and dash. What was the reason for that? Was it just coming in at the wrong time?
Yeah, I think Anthony and Marty had a few issues just in the last stanza of the race there, and caused them to pit it sort of out of sequence. And then when that last safety car came out, they tried to roll the dice a little bit with some fuel saving and a little bit of strategy, as is the trick way. And unfortunately, they just got caught a few laps short. So yeah, unfortunate for them, but it meant that myself and Zach were promoted up the pecking order, which can't be that unhappy with. But yeah, it sucks for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely does. But regardless, second place for you, and it definitely helps both your own championship pursuit and Trick Sim Sports in the team standings. So coming into Kota, things obviously looking bright.
Yeah, for sure. My own championship basically starts here. I missed the first round just for personal reasons, and had a pretty poor showing at Mid Ohio. So yeah, starting off my championship here and get some good points in the team's championship for Trick, which is the main thing, and we'll press on from here. We've got a really good GT lineup, really good squad work. We work together really well with setups and stuff. So yeah, we should be strong going forward.
Excellent stuff. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sislowski, second place man. Now we're going to talk to the guy who scrapped with him in those final laps, Zach Hanlon. It's a well-earned position 3 for you, but my goodness, it could have been a second. You guys were going hard out there.
Yeah, I think if I had if I had set up my last lap a little better, I might have been able to challenge him a little harder. But there was no top end pace in the car, so I had a unfortunate contact with Jackson when he got spun around earlier, and yeah, that kind of affected my top end a little bit. So it was very difficult to really challenge him. I would have had the pace without that little bit of damage, but there was a lot going on out there, so I'll take the podium.
Well, yeah, for Altus Esports, it was once again a race of ups and downs. Particularly JSH, he was doing incredibly well, but unfortunately, not getting the result that he arguably deserved. But you guys are continuing to work away at this series and work away at the cars, and it definitely shows that you guys can get those results in future rounds.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we haven't really done a whole lot of work with this BMW, so we're still kind of learning it, which is really good, I think, because the pace has been quite strong. Those trick guys seem to have a pretty good qualifying setup, so maybe we'll have to have a chat to them. But yeah, I mean, the race pace has been pretty good, and the car felt really comfortable, comfortable enough to get around for 90 minutes, albeit with a couple of scares at turn 5 earlier in the race. But for the most part, the team's been doing a really good job, and Jackson and Ethan have both jumped into the car and adapted really well, and it's good to have a couple more guys in the series.
Well, speaking of the team, who would you like to give a thank to, Zach, before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the guys at Logitech G Altus Esports and our sponsors Logitech G, Astro Gaming, Cube Controls, Modem Simulation, the Confederation of Australian Motorsports, and all the guys who put work into the setup tonight, and for you guys for putting on the broadcast, and also to the fans for tuning in and giving us the opportunity to put on
And a good show it certainly was. That was Zach Hanlon there from Altus Esports, your third place man. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight once again on the iRacing Esports Network. What a round of SSA this was, Ryan. What a race that was. Strategy dramas, on-track dramas, safety car dramas. It had everything we like.
It had absolutely everything, did that race, and once again, the Sprint Series Australia League did not fail to deliver with a bit of everything, and brought about a 90-minute race that absolutely flew by. Action in every corner, quite literally.
Absolutely. Road Atlanta always seems to turn it up. Speaking of Road Atlanta, we're not leaving this place just yet, because this Sunday, also on the iRacing Esports Network, it's the Virtual Racing School V8 Scops series. at Road Atlanta, 500-kilometer enduro. Can't wait for that one. On Monday night, we've got the iRacing V8 series at Road Atlanta. And then next Friday, of course, we've got the Geodesic GoPro Championship, AOSC, and Majors on the weekend. So a full schedule once again for SimSpeed. Thank you very much for joining me, Ryan. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I've been Reese Gardner, Jay Kennedy on cameras as well. The Epiroc Sprint Series Australia comes to an end once again after a fantastic race at Road Atlanta. Who is going to come out on top at COTA? We'll see next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's going the outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my God! Big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive.
This is it.
This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?